How's it going, YouTube? Hoping the camera's picking up my beautiful face here. Okay, so being a little charismatic. So I got a quick video here. I want to introduce you to project number 1. Remember how I said we had a lot of projects here in this house? Well, the entire house is a project, basically. So, this is something I've been thinking about for a while, and it's finally gotten to the point where this item is no longer usable for anything. The average person would either throw this in the dumpster, or they would throw it on a bonfire. Now, I'm no antiques expert. This is pretty old stuff. I don't know how old, because this poor table, if you can tell, that's what it is already. It used to be sitting right over there where that plant is. And now I got my fake wood burning stove sitting over there to keep the cat out of the window. The cat likes to rip the plastic up that's keeping in the heat. And after spending, I don't know, about half an hour taping the plastic back up again, decided to put things in front of it where he can't get at it anymore. So it's not my fault if he can't look at squirrels. So one thing that tells me this is antique is these claw-on ball feet. This is cast iron. You will never see this on a piece of furniture ever again, as far as new stuff. Now, how old this is, I don't know. They started doing these back in the 1900s or even earlier. And you kind of do see it in new furniture, but usually it's made out of wood. You see a claw-on ball foot style. It's really cool. This piece right here is just about 3.5 inches. And here's all 4 of them, if you want to just see. So some hideous person at some point decided to paint this table, this poor thing, with white latex paint. And here is, the top is in 2 pieces. It was, several pieces of wood that were matched, glued together. So it's water stain. I have had a plant on here. I had intended to refinish it before it completely went to hell and disintegrated. So the way this works is these legs are tongue and groove. So I don't know if I can slip one. Let's see what should be a good one here. I think this one. This is interesting. So I used a hammer to knock all these apart, and you can see there's an overabundance of latex paint in there. That basically just goes on there. Oops. Boy, this is weird looking through the camera. Try a different one. These are all going to be cleaned up and probably matched. Usually creaking means binding. Okay, I'm going to have to try all 4 of these. Or select an easier slot. We'll try this one. But you kind of get the gist of it here. The leg is going into that hole and sliding into the slot. But then this is neat. So I don't know if you can really see it or not. That's at an angle. So you slide it into place. And it's going to work if I get it all the way in there. Okay. So there it is. It's more or less where it's supposed to go, all the way in. And then you have this little shelf that is also split in half. Now the shelf was 90 degrees perpendicular. The glue joints in the wood, oops, here we go, were 90 degrees perpendicular to those glue joints. And what would happen is there's a hole here, and you can tell from the overabundance of latex paint here that they used that paint to try to glue things together. This table was probably a little rickety. I don't know why we're missing two of the decorative strips. I think you could still get this pattern at Menards. I think it's called a rope pattern. I'm not sure. Correct me in the comments. But when you put that shelf in there, that pulls those to 90 degrees. And maybe I'll have a camera set up when this gets done. And we do final assembly on it. You'll be able to see everything pull into shape. That'll be a nice, kind of a tall, this is about 3.5, maybe 3.5 feet tall. Because the little ball did add a little bit of height to these legs. Actually, that probably needs to be tapped in there. So we have one problem so far. This is not a problem. Sand this down, throw some Elmer's wood glue in there, clamp her down, good to go. Although I will probably clean this up, at least strip it before gluing. So here's our screws. These were the screws here that held the legs on. And I'm going to probably replace these with brass. Just because what I intend to do with this is... So this is actually a lighter colored wood. I'm not sure. It might be maple. It's not pine. It's too hard to be pine. Pine you can definitely dent with your fingernail if it's raw. This is raw wood here, the underside. So that's why I'm thinking this is maple, because lighter colored wood. I would like to clean this up. And then what you do is you get the wood wet, and you'll see what it looks like when you put a finish on there, just a clear finish. And I might adjust that. I might want this a little darker. I'm not going to make it like grossly dark like that piano over there, which is, well, I wouldn't call that a walnut. Maybe it's a dark oak. Walnut's really, really dark. It depends on how these legs turn out and how the shelf turns out. But the problem that we have here, let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So here's our 4 screws that held our shelf on. And actually there's one that's, there's one that's a little shorter. That's weird. That could be because our shelf has a pocket hole. And I don't know why. So here's the pocket hole. Now, one thing I'm going to try to preserve, and you do this if you're going to do anything with antiques. Obviously, as a vintage antique, this thing is trashed. Thanks to somebody with a paint can over an abundance of time. They should have done this the proper way and just refinish it and revarnish it. There's some kind of mark here. And I'd like to preserve that. I don't know, somebody came along and wrote that with a pencil for a reason. So that's part of the history of this table. The latex paint is also part of the history of this table. Honestly, as a white table, this thing looked hideous. They did a really crappy job painting this. It's like the paint was drying and they just slathered it on. It almost makes me sick to my stomach to look at stuff like this. So I'm going to have to get at this with some paint stripper, because trying to sand this down is going to be near impossible. The best way to do it is use paint remover on it and then go over it with some steel wool to try to preserve these contours. There's no way you can go after this with a sander. These flat, yeah, you can sand these. This, where it's tapered, not so much. The awesome thing to do would be to chuck these in a lathe. If you were really that good, you could just turn all of this off. That would be awesome. I'm not that good, even if I did have a lathe set up. But here's the main problem with this table. Here's our screws that held these ball and claw, or claw and ball feet on. So there's a hole right there. And all of these screws were held in and slathered with latex paint, probably house paint. Ugh. Oh, here's the fourth screw right there. It's a little short, don't you think? Yeah, that was actually the first one I tried to remove. I used a SK screwdriver. Now, I really love this screwdriver because the way the tip is shaped on it. I disassemble carburetors with this because it is a very good, there's a flatness to the end of that. It isn't showing up on camera very good. There you can kind of see it in the light. There's a good flat edge on that. It's not sharp. So you want that to be as square as possible when it goes into the groove. You want it to fit as tight as possible. And this is my kind of go-to for doing all these kinds of things. So this one had a smaller version on the other end of this. SK tools are definitely worth their weight for what you pay for them, if they're even still available. So that's a miniature version of that. That's like a number 1 screwdriver. That's a number 2. Each one of these bits will flip out for a Phillips bit. So a number 1 Phillips bit on that end. Oh, this is hard to, disorienting to do this on the table. There's the other one. And then each one of these has its own size hex. So I could use that as a socket driver, and the same there. And it has a very nice plastic handle. I love SK tools. I mean, you can tell I've worn the stamp off of it. You can barely make out the, oh, it's upside down. Barely make out the model number, made in USA. And that number is 85114. SK USA. I probably paid $35 for this single screwdriver. It has a spring-loaded ball bearing to hold that in the handle. It's not like your cheap Chinese ones, which use a kind of a, they use a spring insert in the handle to hold this, which either will break or wear out. This, as long as you don't get an overabundance of dirt in where that ball bearing is, by, you know, not throwing your tools in the dirt while you're using them and keeping things clean. I've had this screwdriver for 20 years. It's not coming, it is not coming out of that handle. It's tight in there. And this steel is very hard steel that these bits are made out of. I'd say these are probably better than your average, even like Craftsman screwdrivers. Everybody talks about how great Craftsman tools are. I've used a lot of Craftsman tools. I've broke a lot of Craftsman tools. I have yet to break an SK. I've had SKs defective. Like, I don't know why, for whatever reason, mismachined or whatever. But the guy on the tool truck was more than happy to swap them out. So this is our nice little end table in kit form, basically. Let's see. Our top measures at about 17 inches by 17 inches square. Our shelf is a little small. Now, what I'm thinking about doing, I'm not sure what this black is. It looks like it could be a stain. It's not mildew because it's not coming off, you know, could be, it's not sooty, so it's not from a fire. And mildew would show up in this gap right here. It is a little dark on the edge, but that's from water staining where it got in there before this broke. And actually this was already cracked because they got the latex paint in there. Oh, it makes me sick to my stomach. So I got this out of a trailer they were demolishing here in town. And I saw those and knew exactly what they were. My parents used to be in antiques. I have this old chair. This is going to be a project, but I gotta be very gentle with this. That is mother of pearl inlay. It's not in the best of shape. This is just light right here that's hitting that light from the kitchen. I have all these boxes and things on here. These aren't very heavy. This chair is all in one piece. It's in good shape. This is to keep the cat off of it. Yeah, I have one of those things that claws furniture. He's pretty much left this alone, along with every other cat. At one point, I did take a carpet extractor and do the seat, and that really brought the color back. I need to do it again. It's gotten dirty, dusty. This house is very dusty. Probably because of renovations. So, but there is actually, I want to figure out how to do it. The vacuum cleaner is kind of hiding it. There's mother of pearl down there, and there's a piece missing from that. It's at the very bottom of that crest in the middle, kind of a teardrop shape. So I'm going to have to find somebody that can work mother of pearl and get that piece replaced. Other than that, this chair is almost flawless. There's one part here where, thanks to Minnesota weather, this is delaminating. Hypodermic needle with some glue and some gentle clamping and very careful, washing up will take care of that. You only ever want to use wood glue, especially on antiques, because the thing about wood glue is you can steam it back apart. If it was a musical instrument, you'd use something called hide glue. I've never been able to get any. And actually, hide glue was all they had back when these antiques probably were made. Hide glue is, they make it out of stuff that is left over from butchering horses for dog meat. I think it comes from the hooves. I don't know. Anybody that knows, post in comments. If anybody even bothers to watch this video. But this has gone on long enough. The only two things that I used was this hammer. Nice Eastwig hammer. And basically I used the handle as a rubber mallet to knock these legs out. And also maybe do a little tapping with the edge of the screwdriver to get the paint, horrible latex paint. I hate people who do that. So I'm going to see, first of all, those are probably worth money on eBay, as they are. I've got a very, very nice 5-gallon can of industrial strength carburetor dipping solution. For carburetors like that off of my 65 Thunderbird. See what a nice job it does on there? I was going to try to polish this. I think I'm just going to reassemble it and throw it back on just to get the car running and worry about polishing it somewhere down the road. It's more important to have a car running right now. Get it out of my friend's field. But it's winter. I got plenty of time yet to do that here. It's the end of February. I can rebuild a carburetor in about a day. And that's almost clean and ready to go anyway. So I got to wait for all the snow to melt before I can get out there and work on the car. It'll probably take another 2 months for that to happen here in northern Minnesota. But these are the only 2 tools that I used. I'm going to replace all the screws. I'm going to get brass ones. This I'm going to clean up and use a wire wheel on a grinder to remove any bit of rust. I don't want to get too aggressive with this. I will probably use like a wrought iron Rust-Oleum spray paint. And then these are actually hollowed out. I think they had some sort of a foot. Now, they probably had a rubber foot that's just plugged into that. So I'm going to go to the, we have a Max hardware store. Little shout out to Max. You can get all kinds of weird stuff. And I would rather get some sort of a vinyl foot. If I want to keep it nice, vintage, use rubber. But rubber might mark up a floor, a hardwood floor. So this cast iron will definitely mark up a floor, especially if you slide it. So, maybe there's a hard silicone or hard plastic, nylon, something self-adhesive that I could put in there. Post in the comments what you think I should use. But I'm going to shoot for maybe plastic, vinyl, something like that. And that won't detract. At this point, everything I can do to this table will increase its value. Right now, this is firewood. Even when I had the plant sitting on it, it's falling apart. As soon as somebody put latex paint on this thing, that just destroyed the value from, maybe this might have been a couple $100 table. As soon as they put latex paint on there, the value went down to about $1 at a rummage sale. You wouldn't even buy this. If this was intact in one piece, if these pieces here were not broke, and this was more or less a sturdy table, if you saw this at rummage, how much would you pay? Put it in the comments. I'll bet nobody would pay more than $1 for this. Maybe a couple of bucks. Maybe even $5. Unless you saw that. Those are probably, I'm going to guess on eBay, those are $5, $10 a piece. Because you can't get these. They don't exist. This is unobtainium right here. These cast iron pieces. That's a tiny little gold mine. Of course, you got to go through and try to sell them. It's like trying to sell a glass doorknob from your old house. Those little crystal ones? Those are nice, huh? Yeah, this is kind of along those lines too. So, yeah, we're going to see how this goes. I might even try to find some way to build a small drawer that, slides in from one way or another. I think, a drawer no more than, about that. People used to have these tables that did have drawers in them. This might be too tall to do that. I'll have to do a rough assembly and then just gauge, because it might become top heavy. So I might not put a drawer in there. But God, what a nice old piece this was. To have this detail in the sides here. And maybe this is something that somebody added at some point. I don't know. You can see the holes where there were pieces. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Still don't have the ability to edit. Working on trying to get a place to set up my editing rig. But this is where we're at with this. So this is project number 1, End Table. And Derek Whidden, thanking you for watching. Please tell your friends. I'm going to have lots of things coming up. The channel is going to do nothing but improve. As things get going here. Starting to have less time devoted to snow removal and more time to stuff like this. cleaning up around the house here and decided to go ahead and I'm going to take this thing apart. Well, already took it apart and put it in a box, because for me to get around to doing this is probably going to take some time. But this right here gets it out of my way. And, you know, month, 2 months down the line, you know, I'll get the top out and glue that back together. Show you how that's done. Show you how to do that. And like I said, refinish it. This is not going to be blonde. If anything, I want it kind of a reddish color. Not real red. I don't see... Well, okay, let's show you. We'll go into the kitchen here. That is natural oak right there. And I refinished these cabinets. So, you know, the shelf on the inside is one of those press board or particle board units that you get at Menards. And it's just because it's already finished, easy to clean. It was easy to cut and saw. I took the original hinges and refinished them with a hammered copper. It matches the floor vent. Hammered copper. And then I got these beautiful handles at Rummage. And from what I found out from these, they had to be special ordered from Home Depot. So this has been an ongoing project. I had to put glue on for the floor. The drawers I completely redid inside and out. Although I did put some contact paper on the bottom of those. I don't know. I like the look, the way it's lighter colored, so you can, you know, see things in the drawer. But you see how nice and quiet this is. There is a system of rollers and tracks inside of here. And I'll just open this one up quick. This is my junk drawer with all my tools. Oh yeah. Ooh, it's like grating your fingers on the chalkboard, right? But I did the stenciling pattern on here. Just because I think it goes with this kitchen. But these are painted with a semi-gloss Helmsman made by Minwax. And the cat has tried to claw them. Now, you can see the particle board that the fronts are made out of here. But it is a real oak veneer finish. And this right here is oak all the way through. The Helmsman, they make it for boats, and it's expensive. This is waterproof. This is scratch resistant. This is never coming off. That's not even leaving a mark. It's just dulling my fingernail. It's chewing up my fingernail. The cat has come, and the cat will agree. He's tried to claw these up with no success. I need to clean up. I've been so busy with snow removal. But yeah, I need to do my kitchen cabinets. And here I was using a pencil to, you know, pencil in different ideas. See what I liked. That'll all come off when I sand it down. And redo my cabinets. Yeah, big mess, I know. I don't even want to open these cabinets up here. Forget that. I got stuff that's got to be thrown out. I'll show you another quick thing. Work in progress. Let's see, where did those... Did they... Huh. Oh, maybe I put them behind here. Here we go. So here's some... These are for the bathroom. And I did these stencils. The back side is finished. I just got to do the front. I had to stop doing these because of the weather. You know, went to snow. But here's one that's Got one coat. It needs to have another coat and maybe do a light sand and a final coat. This again is the Helmsman. Beautiful oak veneer. And the same particle board. So you know what happens to particle board when it gets wet? Yeah, you do. So that's why I'm using Helmsman. So here's my bathroom. It's about 3/4 complete. Yeah, I know we have a rust problem where I live. But I got this beautiful tile board in here. Here's a little detail for the washing machine. This is the kind of work I do. So yeah, we have a washer and dryer, and I'm almost done with laundry. But this is where the hoses hook up behind here. So this is kind of how they had it before, and I used a dryer vent to run the hoses up from underneath to kind of hide that hole. And then this one, the cat can actually crawl, and that's a closet on the other side. I have to redo that closet. I had to completely take this wall out right here. The furnace is in here. And then I put the sheetrock surrounding the furnace because I was trying to get this place insured. But we got this cabinet that's refinished. It just needs the doors and drawers done. And again, yeah. These brass knobs are just temporary. Here's over the washer and dryer. And this cabinet was completely falling apart. Completely just all of these glue joints here were coming apart. Every one of them. This shelf you couldn't even put weight on. Now I have like these heavy bottles of detergent on there. And the reason why, if I turn around, there's repair brackets there. There's a plate there. There's even up there, you can't see them because they're on the top. And then there's those shelf brackets and birch plywood on the ceiling. The birch plywood really sucked up to that ceiling beam up there. And those wrought iron shelf brackets are tied to the birch, and then the cabinet is tied to the brackets. Here's from the end. So